Hello, my fellow wargaming players. Please join me in the wargaming prayer, because it is necessary. Dear Ding Jeebus, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, for wargaming maketh the rules, and wargaming breaketh the rules. And here we have what I'm thinking is might be a little bit of an internal competition, because recently, during the weekly assault stream for the World of Tanks Mod Armor stream, they brought up that they are considering talking about testing changing terrain resistance in Era 3. And for you Eagle Eye viewers, this is not World of Tanks Mod Armor, this is not Era 3, this is Project Cold War, and this is the Chopper ME1, M1E1 Abrams, their version. Please note the speed. That's what we're going to talk about here. So, right now that I've come to a dead stop, and I've boosted, but previously, the top speed, even when boosted, is going to be 47 kilometers per hour. That's the max speed. There's some upgrades you can boost the speed, but it comes with trade-off. Yeah. That's... this is supposed to be an all-arcade. Yet, this heavy tank, this MBT, is slow. Compared to the possible 70 plus kilometers per hour you can do in an M1, M1A1, M1A2 Abrams in Cold War Era 3. And I will discuss this now. So we're going to start with the M1A1 that I actually haven't. I've only been playing a little bit and have not fully upgraded. But as you can see here, I'm going to take off all the speed boosts, anything that could boost the speed. I don't have any of the upgraded tracks, no boosted engine. So this is stock. Now, that's going to be important because it's pretty obvious that the weight of this tank and the terrain resistance are greater in this mode. Pay attention to the speed. Right off the bat, almost instantly, we're up to 55 kilometers per hour and increasing across uneven terrain. We're now up to 60 kilometers, and it's just going up, but not fully. We're not capable of doing 70 kilometers yet. We don't have all the upgrades. So 60 to 65 kilometers per hour is the standard. Here we are going up what is probably maybe a 35 degree incline. Our speed now has reduced to 30. We're dropping to 30 kilometers per hour, and then now we're going back up. We're going out of the 20s, getting back up. We're nearing the top, and we're hitting 30. That's what it's like in the MBTs in Era 3. Here we are in Fisherman's Bay. Now we don't have so much extreme inclines, but we do have rolling hills to demonstrate again. 54 kilometers per hour from the start of the match, going from 0 up very quickly. We go down some hills here, we gain some speed, hit 70 kilometers per hour, and then we do a hard turn here. 60, 55, going up a hill. There we are. Slowed down a bit, but still within about 50 kilometers per hour. Going across some rolling hills here. 67. And now, this is what Era 3 is like across the board. Like, you have MBTs able to keep up with some of the light tanks. Although some of the light tanks now, Faisal Tow, obviously, that's a tank short, able of doing 80, nearly 90 kilometers per hour. So they can be fast. Although the M1A3 Bradley, not fast, on the same speed as the MBTs. The M1 Abram, this precedes the M1A1. I know, doing out of order, but still, bear with me. This is the early version of the Abrams, showing once again that stock. There, I am going to take the tracks down to stock. We have, yes, we do keep the fuel boost that gives 5% to engine power. Yet, I don't engage it, but there is the passive 5%. So, again, very quickly going uphill, 50, 60 kilometers per hour. We're going to go downhill, hit 73 kilometers, over almost 80 kilometers per hour going downhill in an MBT. And I know some of you will say, well, yes, they could do these in the real world. Sure, in the right circumstances and do you necessarily want a 60 plus ton vehicle traveling at nearest top speed? That might put some strain on certain pieces of equipment. But the whole reason for this video is now I'm going to weigh in because I know I was on this boat that Era 3 needed to be restrained. We needed to have more realistic terrain resistance. And I think the reason this was addressed by the developers during the stream was because Project Cold War came out and the full-blown arcade tank game had realistic, closer to realistic game physics. And so I guess they felt, okay, maybe we could do this. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe we are a little sweating the competition, which can be a good thing, but as Project Cold War is an alpha, and more players are starting to unlock the light tanks, and starting to see how their speed affects gameplay of MBTs and heavier tanks, that might be changed. So I think maybe we should have the developers might not want to rush into touching Era 3. As I know, you're shocked, because previously I was like, yeah, we need to reach. Terrain resistance needs to be increased for these MBTs. Every tank almost goes the exact same speed, regardless of it's a Stingray 2 or a T-72BU. Now, some of the MBTs do have differences. The T-72BU barely. You can get it 270 kilometers, but you'd have to put a lot of boosts and upgrades on it. So now, my thought process has changed after playing some Project Cold War, and that, so if the arcade tank game is more realistic, and now the arcade military simulator that is World of Tanks Modern Armor is allowing the limits to be pushed that previously couldn't be, are we perhaps best off having the terrain resistance unchanged? Is this now the unique aspect of the Cold War mode in Modern Armor? Is this what makes it stand out? I think this is now something we should perhaps be discussing before we go in and start changing things in the game, or even testing them. For starters, again, Project Cold War is an alpha test 2 on console. This is the first time it's on console, so it's great to see Wargaming is further supporting console, creating some internal competition. I don't think what you just saw could happen necessarily in the ME1 chopper. Well, the chopper's the agent, whatever. And as we all know, Era 3, well, for those who know, is called basically, it's just a bunch of go-karts, and you can see why right there. I find now that after having played both games, or at least participated in the Project Cold War test, which is still ongoing, Era 3 is kind of actually more fun. Like, you don't have the hero abilities that you do in Project Cold War, but yeah, it's kind of like some of those abilities just kind of end up being a little more frustrating, especially as you have to learn them and try to implement them. Here we go back to that chopper gameplay. I'm sort of second guessing myself and my previous statement now that there is something to compare Era 3 to. And it's kind of like, you know what? Maybe we should let Armored Warfare and War Thunder keep their realism, especially as now as a full-blown, wargaming arcade tank game is truly entering the mix to counter all that realism, and yet in it itself still has it's based still in realism. Well, at least sort of physics-wise. So now it's kind of like, gee, the break from reality for me is now World of Tanks Modern Armor Cold War mode. What do you think? Comment down below if you think the terrain resistance should be increased for Cold War mode, or are you one of those people, one of those players who are like, I love the absurdity and the chaos and the frenetic energy of Era 3. It's what makes it unique and what makes it fun, and it helps stand out from all the other wargaming products, because it definitely is not like PC. It's not even like the World War II mode, which is the console cousin to World of Tanks PC. It's sort of, again, I know some people like, why are you people having this argument? Your tanks have health bars. Right, that right away means this is a joke, and I refuse to play this child's game. I will now go back to play War Thunder. Thank you. Go screw yourselves, you idiots. Trust me, I'm mocking the War Thunder players, but I'm just, don't worry. A few men in suits will knock on the door because it's like, we've been reading your forum posts. How did you get the manual? So, yeah. Comment down below. What do you think? I will, as you're thinking up your thought and stuff, keep watching this gameplay. See what you think. Is this the absurdity you've been interested in having? Like, can we have tanks? Can I have the realism, the military simulator on one game, and have another game that just goes, can we just have fun with these vehicles? Can we go full redneck on this here? All right. Can we get a tank with a bathtub in it filled with beer? All right. I don't know, that ability just means probably boosts your stamina, but reduces your ability, you know, your mobility. Well, you might be able to go faster. Sure as hell ain't gonna turn, and when you're drunk. Anyway, tell me what you think. Should Era 3 be restrained and made to be more like Project Cold War? Or should World of Tanks Modern Armor, that crew in Chicago, should they maybe consider leaning more into how Era 3 plays and having, maybe taking their own shot at Project Cold War and having a whole mode where they turn absolutely everything up to 11. Not making Era 3 completely up to 11, but they're a separate game mode, you know. We have Mars mode. Who knows what could happen, but I think suddenly we may have more options here than we are fully aware of. So let's maybe not restrain World of Tanks Modern Armor. Because, and if anyone, if a handful of you think this is going to bring any World War II players into Cold War mode, especially past Era 1, yeah, maybe. I doubt it. They've made up their minds already. So, that said, I hope you keep your tracks on the ground, RNG in your favor, and keep on tanking.
have it here.